Hi Sagittarius, welcome to your July 2019 general tarot reading. I'm trying to remember, I'm like, did I do Sagittarius's reading already? I think I've only done one of these. So I don't, because I've had that happen before where I do two readings in 1 month and then it's like, oh, here's a bonus reading for you. So I think I'm safe. I think. Famous last words. Okay. This is a general focus, and sometimes there's a theme that seems to speak to one area more than another, like career more than love life or vice versa. Just remember that even if I talk about relationships, you can apply it to some other type of relationship, maybe a relationship with coworkers or family stuff or things like that. So don't, just because I don't cover it, I mean, these are not meant to be all-inclusive. I'm just trying to give you a flavor of what I do. The heart of the matter is the Eight of Swords. This is a card of feeling like you're trapped, but you're trapped by your own thoughts. Swords relate to communication, but the communication in this case can be your self-talk that's on the negative side of things. And even though Sag is a positive sign, remember that we have other placements. For instance, I have a moon in Virgo. And just by my own moon in Virgo, I know that there are issues with perfectionism and feeling insecure and things along those lines. If you have the moon in Pisces, you know, there's all these things. If you have the moon in Cancer, it can be feeling unloved. And that colors your world, that you create your reality. I would say this, you co-create your reality, because I do believe that, you know, we are not the only things in life, and that there are other people, other situations that are happening concurrently at the same time. So they can affect us, other people's events, life events can affect us, their co-creation can affect us. So the bottom line is that although we may not be able to control everything, we can control certain things. We can control what we say to ourselves. That's, you know, a basic kind of a thing. And if you have very negative self-talk that you engage in, then that might be the first thing that you need to take care of. And find out, why are you beating yourself up? Because there may be things that you want to do that you feel like you can't. Now, I'm sensing a relationship situation. And this is, you know, being a Sagittarian myself, I'm not going to have this relationship drama. So I'm sure not every Sagittarian is either. But for those who this is pertinent, this could even be with an air sign. Libra is just screaming at me. I don't know if that's how true that is. I'm being like the 700 Club and Pat Robertson. There's somebody who has a Libra who's torturing them. And the other air signs are Gemini, Sag is opposite sign, and Aquarius. And you can feel like you can't get out from under them. I think this could even be a gaslighting situation where they've really gotten inside your head. Yeah, because let me tell you something. This is the past position. And you can see the knight in shining armor. The perfect specimen who kind of courted you and said all the right things, said the poetry, gave the flowers, and now you feel the sense of oppression. And unless that's a new person who has come on the scene, Even, this could be like a work situation, and you may feel like you've gotten a job offer and now you don't know what to do. You ever have that feeling or experience where maybe you're in a certain job and you just don't like it for whatever reason, but you can't leave it. Maybe it has it pays better than average, or you've just been there a long time and it's the devil and then you get this other offer, and that just kind of like tortures you, because if you didn't have options, you'd almost be better off, because now you feel like you have to make this decision and it's hard to. The higher message, the spiritual message, the spiritual perspective is the Queen of Swords. And this is like taking your emotions out of the equation and applying logic to the situation. And saying, and not, the Queen of Swords isn't the King of Swords. And especially if you're a woman, women tend to be more emotional than men. Whether you want to say it's biological or socialized socialization, doesn't matter. The point is that for women, it's hard sometimes to make decisions on your own, or on our own, because obviously I'm a woman too, because we are thinking of others. And so I think in some cases it's easier for men to be in positions of authority if they have to fire somebody, for instance. And because they might have they may agonize over it less and just think about the matter at hand. But with the Queen of Swords, there still is that emotional connection, but there's not allowing the emotions to run away with you. So you have, to me, I've been getting this Queen of Swords lately, and I've been seeing it now as a decision that has to be made. But perhaps the person is putting it off because it's a difficult decision in their eyes. And the Queen of Swords, the Queen is royalty. So she is on her throne of truth. And she knows what is right. And so she's not allowing somebody to control her anymore. This is the spiritual message. This is the best of you. Okay? So if you have been feeling like you are being controlled by somebody, mentally controlled, your best self is somebody who is independent and capable of objectivity, because Sagittarius is a masculine sign. So there's that objectivity that a water sign doesn't have. That a water sign person might make it very personal to them, and you're able to see, if you allow yourself to, if you want to be happy and you choose happiness, Sag, you can see that there's a very clear action that you need to take. Again, sometimes we deliberately keep ourselves in these chains because maybe we don't feel deserving. You know what song just popped in my head? I've said this before. That line from the Eagles when they it's one of my favorite songs. I can't think of the title, but you know what I mean. So oftentimes we why can't I think of that? When we live our lives in chains, so we never even know we have the key. Already gone. So oftentimes it happens that we live our lives in chains and we never even know we have the key, or something like that. And I think it's more than that, though. I think it's more like we do know that we can set ourselves free, but we don't feel deserving of that freedom. It's almost like masochistic, where it's like, you know how they say, a glutton for punishment. And again, feeling worthy is everything. And that's another thing about the Queen of Swords. Because she is queen, she's connected to the water element. And so there is that sense of emotion there. But the swords are about the intellect. So basically, what I would say about the Queen of Swords too is that it's a sense of somebody who knows their worth in a very unmaudlin, I know that's not proper grammar, way, where it's not about that saccharine type of, your self-love type of thing. It's really understanding it from an intellectual point of view. And you can have spiritual truths where it really resonates with you intellectually. I think that's almost the best, rather than the bhakti or the emotional, which gets you all, warm and fuzzy, but it's not really necessarily appealing to your intellect or, to rational thought. It's just running on emotions, okay? And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that type of yoga or that type of affinity for spiritual experiences. But I do think that the mental approach is great for clarifying your vision. And I think that's what the Queen of Swords represents, a clarified vision. What crosses you is the Judgment card. Again, I feel like, and again, this could even be in the workplace where your boss has convinced you that you're not that good, that you couldn't get another job, another gaslighting situation. If you try to argue about it, they act like you're crazy, the whole 9 yards. So, questioning your judgment, questioning your perception, your perceptions, and doing that. And, other people who do that to you, to me, are dangerous because they can be crazy making. And so don't allow such people into your life. Obviously you have. So now you're playing, I was going to say you're playing catch up, but I mean you're doing damage control. So the first step, Sag, in this dilemma in July is to look at what is the one thing that you can do to begin to free yourself. And my suggestion, and this is based upon me being a Sagittarius and some of the things that I've been going through in 2019, is to utilize affirmations perhaps. If this is something that you constantly are telling yourselves negative things, meditation, including walking meditation, including something that puts you in motion, because fire signs a lot of times are very energetic and they, sometimes they just don't want to sit still. I feel like, and I've read a lot of comments from people who feel a little bit let down by this Jupiter in Sag thingamajig, transit. Because it really has been, I know in my own case, quite different than I expected. It hasn't been this, bed of roses. It hasn't just, magically made everything better. Now we're in a Jupiter retrograde. And that has been interesting in and of itself. Because Sag is ruled by Jupiter. So Sagittarians feel Jupiter retrogrades, even though Jupiter isn't a personal planet. Or maybe you feel them. I don't want to tell you something that might not be true for you. So this is one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about evolutionary astrology, because I feel like the transit situation, it's not that it might not be accurate, but not necessarily how we interpret it in an earthly sense. Maybe things are going on at a deeper level for us, and even though they are appearing in 3D reality as challenges, obstacles, negative situations, negative feelings that, well, I don't want to say negative feelings, but heavy feelings. If you've been experiencing any of those things and you're like, hey, I thought this was supposed to be Sag's year. Well, first of all, this year isn't over. Sag is going to be in Jupiter. Jupiter is going to be in Sag until December. So, and that's going to go into Capricorn. That's our second house. So maybe that is where Jupiter will come alive, because it can bless us on a material level perhaps, and that can at least be tangible to us, and we can point to it and say, yes, I did receive X blessing. Whereas now, when it's in our sign and in the first house, it may be like it's a new cycle, but perhaps the opportunities are opening up are hard to really grasp, because it's a very open-ended kind of a thing. It's just like, okay, Jupiter's in your sign. But when it'll specialize in these different houses. So anyway, what is coming in, or the advice, is the Page of Swords. If you have a work situation that feels oppressive, the Page of Swords is about watching your back and documenting. You've probably heard this before, where if you are being treated in a shabby way, in an unfair way at work, you're supposed to document it. I always felt like that was kind of sketchy in its own right, because it's like you're creating this dossier of all this, or this a grievance list of all the things that are going wrong. But because of the nature of the beast that is working for a company, working for somebody else, and if you ever have the occasion where you need to make it legal, or go to go to arbitration or to human resources, if you don't have substantial evidence, they may side with your superior. So you want to have as good a case as possible. But the same, what I want you to do too, with this card as advice, Page of Swords, is I want you to be vigilant. I mean, I think that's another aspect of this card. Don't, we have a Mercury retrograde in July, so don't take things at face value. Because sometimes, who knows, maybe somebody gives you a document to sign and it's, shady. And it's actually, if you signed it, it would actually absolve them of any wrongdoing and you would have no recourse. So don't just sign something trusting like a little Sagittarian puppy dog that everybody else is on the up and up, because you are. Life doesn't work that way. Take it from somebody who has been severely disappointed with the human race due to some people, not all people's, devious behavior. So that's a possibility. This can also be some kind of new communication. Again, if you had some kind of a job offer, perhaps in the month of July, it may be a little bit delayed because of the Mercury retrograde, in terms of having those conversations, meeting for the interview. Some of those things might be delayed for reasons that are beyond your control. Understand that Mercury goes direct on the 31st. So from the 7th until the 31st is when we have our Mercury retrograde. That's funny, isn't that 4 weeks? 14, 21, 20, no, it's like 3.5 weeks, and that's the transit of a Mercury retrograde. So you might be having these conversations. Oh yeah, that's the thing. Be very careful about what you say. Loose lips sink ships. Remember that? Don't necessarily trust coworkers with, all of your plans, because you never know who's the mole. I always feel like weird saying things like this because it sounds so cynical and it sounds so like paranoid, but let's face it, it's true. This happens all the time. And the outcome is the Three of Wands. By the way, with a personal relationship, you may find out that this person who is putting you through hell is cheating on you. That's the oldest one in the book. The one that is on the one who yells the loudest might be the one who's guilty. And you might find out. This is like the private eye type of a card. And some people literally hire private eyes because they want to, have the proof. Especially if the person's a gaslighter, because they may have really been masterful in convincing you that you're paranoid and crazy. The outcome is the Three of Wands. This is a card that Sagittarius love, wide open spaces, seeking something more, seeking something very expansive. So this could even be entrepreneurial energy if you're coming from office place politics and you're just like, I don't even want to go to a new company because I don't have any grand ideas that it's going to be any different. You may feel like this is how it is across the board. Not to say that you're right, but you may just feel that way. The other thing, too, that I want to say about the Judgment card in the challenge position is that this could be like a legal case that is going through some kind of process. There is a solar eclipse in your 8th house of shared resources, Sag. So this can definitely be some kind of a probate issue or inheritance issue, and you may feel like you can't get out from under it. I mentioned in the astrology videos, I've done one for your sign on YouTube for July, but I mentioned about the inheritance situation and how, I as well, I thought that there was something resolved, and I just found out that I guess they postponed the court date. And even though I'm not participating in it, I'm not going to go to the hearing, it's a little bit frustrating that this matter doesn't just get resolved. I don't know what the holdup is. And that makes me kind of like, okay, well, maybe I should go to this court session. So it's kind of weird. I don't know what it is for you, but definitely there could be something, or if you're divorcing somebody and there is child support or other types of shared money or money that has to go from one person to the other, that could be coming back into play or being, actually when the Mercury retrograde happens, it's either that you have to deal with that fight over again, maybe you thought it was resolved, or that it just comes into that place of maybe it's like postpone something that was supposed to be, like you were going to sign something and then they postponed it for whatever reason. So there's definitely the element of air in this reading. 3 out of the 6 cards are cards that are connected to air. So communication is very important. However, in a Mercury retrograde, you may find that it's not as easy, it's not as clear, and that may frustrate you because you really want something to be resolved so it can free you. Maybe you feel like if this is a lawsuit that you've been dealing with this for far too long and you can't move forward. Like maybe you want to even physically relocate. The 3 of Wands could be like, you know, to me it's like relocating to the mountains, but I don't know if that's going to be true for everybody. Okay, that's what I have for you, Sag. If you'd like a private reading, the link is below. My website is rainandmoonastrology.com. Take care. Bye.